Joining us now is Congressman Adam Schiff, Democrat from California, member of the January 6th committee and chair of the House Intelligence Committee. He also served as an impeachment manager for Donald Trump's first impeachment trial. He's also the author of the new book, Midnight in Washington, How We Almost Lost Our Democracy and Still Could. It's good to have you with us. And we're told that Congress's criminal contempt referral of Steve Bannon was accepted by the U.S. Attorney's Office in D.C. yesterday evening around 5:30. Now the ball is in Merrick Garland's court. What's your expectation for how quickly the DOJ will move on this?
Well, it's my hope and expectation that they will move quickly, that they understand the urgency here. And I think there are good signs in what the Justice Department did with respect to some of the witnesses we wanted to talk to, former top-ranking justice officials. They did not assert executive privilege. They did not assert any kind of work product privilege. And made it clear that they view the public interest in getting all the facts out about that violent attack on our democracy to be paramount. I think that same logic ought to apply here. So it's our hope, it's our expectation that they will move quickly.
I want to play for our viewers something that Congresswoman Liz Cheney, who's the top Republican on the January 6th committee, something she said on the House floor yesterday as she explained why Steve Bannon's testimony, in her view, is so critical. Look at this.
Mr. Bannon's own public statements make clear he knew what was going to happen before it did, and thus he must have been aware of and may well have been involved in the planning of everything that played out on that day. The American people deserve to know what he knew and what he did.
So my question is, how much of what Steve Bannon knew is really a proxy for what Donald Trump knew? And can you get that information from other witnesses if executive privilege is tied up in the courts?
Well, first of all, we think that Steve Bannon clearly has relevant information. He was reportedly in conversation with the president. He did apparently predict that there would be all hell breaking loose on January 6th, as indeed it turned out all hell would break loose. But whatever insights he has are only going to be a subset of the information about the president's conduct in the days leading up to that, and including on January 6th. So he is certainly not the sole source of information about what took place. And we are approaching others that can share information about that. But I will say this also, his executive privilege claims are very remote and improbable of any success. What's more, he failed to show up. And that's not an executive privilege issue. That's a claim of absolute immunity, and no one enjoys absolute immunity. The courts have held that repeatedly. So it's a very strong case to prosecute, and we certainly hope the Justice Department will soon.
On the standing that he may or may not have when it comes to executive privilege, Chuck Rosenberg, who's a friend of this show, former U.S. Attorney for the Eastern District of Virginia, he guided our team to a 2007 OLC, Office of the Legal Counsel opinion, that potentially could pave the way for an executive privilege argument for Bannon. I'm going to read some of it to you. It says this, that the communications involve individuals outside the executive branch does not undermine the president's confidentiality interests. The communications at issue occurred with the understanding that they would be held in confidence, and they related to decision-making regarding U.S. attorney removals or replacements or responding to congressional or media inquiries about the U.S. attorney matter. So this is a very specific issue relating to 2007, but this idea that the subject didn't necessarily have to be a part of the executive branch, which Bannon certainly wasn't at the time. Is that in any way a complicating factor?
No, I don't think so at all. That OLC opinion, of course, is not binding on the current Justice Department. And as far as I'm aware, no court has ever held executive privilege to apply to a presidential communication with someone who's not even in the administration. Even people who are in the administration, it generally doesn't apply unless they're a top-ranking official. And even then, when it does apply, it gives way in cases of extreme public interest. And it's hard to imagine a more extreme public interest than an attack on the Capitol and the seat of our democracy. So Steve Bannon's claims are going to fail. They will inevitably fail. But the whole point is to delay. And this is why the criminal prosecution is so important. Donald Trump, for 4 years, did everything he could to stonewall all the subpoenas and delay. This is merely a continuation of that effort. but they can't have the same success in terms of stonewalling when it comes to a prosecution. And that's why our hope and expectation, as I mentioned, is that the department will pursue it and with vigor.
I want to ask you about these other Trump loyalists whom the committee says are cooperating. That's Mark Meadows and Kash Patel. When the committee says that these two gentlemen are engaging with the committee, what does that mean exactly? What level of engagement?
Well, it really differs with each of the witnesses that we have subpoenaed, and I can't go into the particulars. But I can tell you that we're determined to secure their testimony. If we reach the point with any of them where we don't think that they're negotiating in good faith, that they're merely trying to run the clock, then we will pursue the same path we did with Steve Bannon. But if we can get to yes, and I think with some, there's certainly the prospect that we will. That is our preferred course. But we will only wait so long.
Congressman Adam Schiff, thanks so much for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you.